My name is Elizabeth Pickens. I'm the author and owner of the website fluteteacher.net. I'm a private flute teacher, and I'm here to share what I learned about motivation from teaching a bunch of kids the flute. I'm going to cover how I motivate my flute students, who are mostly children, but also adults. And I think you will find that the motivational tactics are fairly universal and can be applied to your teaching or business situations as well, whether you teach piano or bassoon, or in charge of a sales team or employees or your clients. As I go through the different tactics of motivating, I want you to write down the ones that sound helpful and take some time later on your own to brainstorm how you could apply that tactic to your own situation. The definition of motivation is the reason or reasons a person has for acting or behaving in a particular way, the general desire or willingness of someone to do something. Motivation is either intrinsic, meaning that it's driven by internal rewards, or extrinsic, meaning that someone's motivated in order to earn a reward or avoid a punishment. They're motivated by outside forces. In music, especially at the beginning, intrinsic motivation can be difficult to find. The tone isn't developed yet, skills aren't there to enjoy just playing, and I'm usually dealing with young children who haven't found their motivation yet. So, especially at the beginning, I tend to rely on extrinsic motivation, which comes in many forms. I'm going to share some and try to tie it into what you can do too in your teaching or business when dealing with others. The first thing that I use as an extrinsic motivator are rewards. I have practice sheets that parents sign off on, and if the student gets a certain amount of practice in or achieves a certain goal, like memorizing a scale, I give them a stamp. They then use these stamps to buy prizes that I keep on hand in hat boxes, toys, jewelry, nail polish, keychains. I think it's important to use rewards for the process goals as well as outcome goals so that the kids feel encouraged along the way. If you work with adults, especially in a business setting, you could use cash rewards. Gift certificates to Starbucks, even jewelry or makeup might motivate or help reward someone for actions that they took. I also have to rely on the pleasantness of my personality. I think that the nicer and more patient I am, the more the student will be motivated to work for me. If I am stern and disagreeable, the less likely they will want to put forth effort. So watch your own attitude, monitor your own behavior. Ask yourself, am I acting as a cheerleader or a drill sergeant? It can be easy to fall into a grumpy disposition and fail to understand why someone isn't motivated. Let me give you a personal story. Renee, whose name I have changed, is a student that came to me. The first thing she said was, "Oh, I thought you were going to help me with my band music," which I was happy to do. But in my opinion, flute lessons should flesh things out more and introduce classical music. She also indicated that she wasn't too willing to practice. She was actually very honest with me about how she felt, which did not work in her favor. I like to consider myself a loving, nurturing person, but she really pushed my buttons. She would say things like, "My band director doesn't care if I count that right." I would get really frustrated with her. I talked to other teachers and they said she sounded kind of spoiled. Well, that just fueled my frustration. I talked to her mom, who said she worked really hard in school and wasn't good at sports and needed an outlet. When I got mad at the student, she would say, "Well, I get straight A's," but I couldn't understand why she wasn't willing to put in the same kind of work as a flute student. So, long story short, in her case, I let frustration get the better of me. Ultimately, it was discouraging for both of us. In retrospect, I would have been a little more patient with her. So that's where I say, watch your own attitude. An extrinsic motivator that I use is festivals and competitions. Knowing that you're going to be playing for judges helps some kids really dig in and really practice hard to learn a piece. The jury's still out for me if this is really healthy for all children, especially the competition part. I have some young kids who are hard on themselves, have self-defeating attitudes and low expectations. And if they don't place in a competition, I worry this can feed those feelings of insecurity. At least in the prep phase, it can be motivating and make you work harder. You can use competitions as well among your sales teams to make quotas and so forth. I also do recitals, informal and formal. And the informal ones, my kids tell me those are more fun and enjoyable, and they feel less pressure. They come to my house in jeans and play for each other works in progress, and we have a party. The formal recital is at a church, they dress up, there's a big audience. But again, I think just knowing you will be performing in front of others can be a huge motivator to get a piece ready. We also do ensembles or group efforts. That's a team effort that's involved, and everyone is part of the team trying to produce a result. I think that teaches responsibility because you're depended upon by others. Also, I always make sure to rotate who gets the first or premium soloistic parts, and everyone in the group gets a chance, even the so-called weaker players. Inclusion is really important. Giving everyone a sense of their responsibility, something to head up, helps with self-esteem and motivation. In your business, group efforts and group camaraderie, where people come to share their experiences, or small group competitions, could be motivating to some people. Another thing I encourage is hearing a real concert flutist live. If someone comes through town, I really want them to attend. I also have them listen to their pieces on YouTube, so they can be inspired by someone else's interpretation. Have them be exposed to the superstars of your field. Leading by example is another example. It's hard for me to expect my students to practice every day if I don't do the same thing. I notice that when my own motivation is lagging, their motivation tends to lag too. When I'm really involved in practicing, they kick it up a notch as well. I don't know why it works that way. Perhaps I'm conveying something subconsciously. But setting an example is an important motivator. Even if you don't communicate it or actively show them what you are doing, you will transmit that energy. Another example is goal setting. I take time every New Year to do New Year's resolutions with my kids. We get a big poster board and glitter and flute magazines with exciting pictures of flutes and flutists. I have them write out their top resolutions with flute for the year and decorate the poster board, which should go in their bedrooms to remind them of their goals. So sit down with your people and help them map out where they want to go. This gives them a guide and a sense of purpose and motivation. I think it's important to push the extrinsic motivators on them until they can develop the intrinsic motivation of playing an instrument and seeing what that does for their soul when they play and learning to love it. You can use this in your own business, especially those who have others working for them or with them, to consider the value of extrinsic motivation. Because people, even when they dearly want something, don't always know how to get it or how to motivate themselves to get it. Encouraging the process of success is just as important as encouraging the final results, and can lead to the final results. So take some time now to jot down your own notes on how you could use some of these ideas in your own businesses. Again, the motivators are rewards, attitude, competition, recitals, ensemble or group effort, exposure to great examples, leading by your own example, and goal setting. I hope you found this information helpful to you as a teacher or a business. Remember, motivation gets results. If you want further information on motivation or on how to take online flute lessons with me, Elizabeth Pickens, go to fluteteacher.net. And thank you for listening today.